Hey, what's up, fight fans? Back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down the second event of International Fight Week 2017 as UFC 213 takes place from the T-Mobile Arena in the home of the UFC in Las Vegas, Nevada. I already have my Ultimate Fighter 25 finale picks up, which I made last night. Spent the majority of my day watching tape today, and I have my fights ready to go here. First thing I'm going to say is I heard about 2 hours ago they're going to be adding 2 fights to this card for next week. So coming in 8 days notice, 2 fights coming in very short notice. So I've heard nothing regarding it. I've asked a few people and heard nothing. So I will leave a breakdown of the fights in the drop down box as soon as that comes through. Overall, there's some great fights on the card, but it's lacking that big international fight week feel, I think, with the fights they have on it. And for example, I'm really can't look forward for until UFC 214. I think that it looks a phenomenal good card. I think some of the fights could been huge if they were on this card, but timing and everything, it's an okay fight card to say the least. I know some people who are heading out there a little bit disappointed with how the card turned out, but it's probably got the best fight of the year with Romero and Whittaker on there, and other solid fights as well. So we're going to get straight into it, but remember there is 2 fights to be added to this card in the very short future. So starting off in the Bantamweight division, Rob Font faces off against Douglas Silva Andrade. Good fight, solid fight. I've seen a few takes of this with people on Twitter talking about it. If you just put in the name in Twitter, you'll see people talking about it. And people are counting out Andrade. I think from what I've seen of him in his UFC tenure, he's very good. He's solid everywhere. Coming off a really nice knockout in his last fight against Henry Browne. Went over Cody Gibson. His only losses to Subaru Tuhugov, who is a really good grappler, and just a fairly decent fighter himself. 24-1 record. Fought a lot of kind of nobodies over there in Brazil, but the guy is very tough and very hard to put away. You don't put away this guy. He's never been put away. So yeah, I like Rob Font a lot. I think that I was really looking forward to seeing him fight at UFC 204 last year and beat the shit out of Ian Entwistle. Never came together due to Entwistle really getting ill on the day of the weigh-ins or the day of the fights, whenever it was. But came back, fought Matt Schnell in December, and really Matt Schnell had no right being up there in 135 pound division. He's not. I don't even think he's with the UFC anymore. Coming off that tough show, solid pro, very solid pro. Good skills on the ground, but very good striking. Trains with Mark De La Grotte, I think it is, out there in Boston. And just a really solid pro. Everywhere the fight goes, he's very dangerous. Especially on the feet, though. He's got really nice boxing, really nice technique, really nice speed, really nice feints. I like how he moves off from the left to pop his right hand and put his jab out there, and just overall mix it well together. I think this is going to be a tough fight, tough 3 rounds, but I see Rob Font just kind of edging out majority of those rounds. So I'm going to pick Rob Font to win via probably a 30-27. No, I don't. 29-28. I can see Andrade possibly imposing his will on Rob Font and at least winning a round, but I think it might look a little bit dominant for Rob Font, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than that, if you kind of know what I mean. I might be talking a little bit of gibberish there, but yeah, the pick's going to be Rob Font. I like him via decision. Middleweight division, Thiago Santos against Gerard Meerschaert. I've been on Gerard Meerschaert in a couple of his fights. Coming off a first round finish over Ryan James last time up there in Canada. But he was getting outstruck by Ryan James, and that's something that's not... Ryan James doesn't have much in his feet whatsoever, and he got taken down as well by Ryan James. But in saying that, the guy is really good off his back, really good on the ground. You can't leave any limbs lying for this guy because he will find it. I mean, he caught Chase Walden. We're going to be seeing Chase Walden fighting on the Dana White's contender show very soon. Joe Gilotti caught him in a beautiful anaconda choke, and then he caught Ryan James in the submission with the armbar. So Sidney Wheeler's another guy that I think is going to be fighting in that Dana White contender series. So he's fought fairly decent guys, but when you look at Joe Gilotti and Ryan James, they're 2 low low talents in that UFC middleweight division without a shadow of a doubt. But I think he's a great addition to the 185 division. It'd be interesting to see him in this matchup here. Thiago Santos is a guy with withering power. He's got that like thudding power. If he hits you, you're going down. And he's coming off a beautiful knockout against Jack Marshman, where I thought it did get the fight got stopped a little premature. I thought Marshman could have went on a little bit longer, but I think the writing was on the wall personally. Comes out very aggressive, massive leg kicks, massive body kicks, goes high, beautiful left hand counters coming off the cage. Not off the cage, coming out the middle of the octagon. He needs to control the octagon and push forward and just be the dominant guy coming forward. If he's going back, that's when you can catch him, like Jack Marshman did. He caught him with a big shot, put him down, and really what I liked about that fight a little bit from Thiago Santos, that he mixed it up. The guy's a striker, that's pretty evident with his displays in the UFC, and he mixed in some takedowns in that fight, a little bit of his ground game. Not that he wants to go to the ground with Meerschaert, because Meerschaert will tie him up with something if he does that, but I think Thiago Santos is going to really beat up Meerschaert on the feet here, and I think he's going to get a knockout. I can see him actually getting him in the first round. So a late first round TKO victory there for Meerschaert Santos. Jordan Mein v Belal Muhammad is up next. You've heard me talk about Belal Muhammad. I'm a big fan of the guy. I kind of wrote him off a little bit in that Randy Browne fight. Probably a little bit of recency bias with Randy Browne's last fight. But Belal Muhammad came in there and like took care of business like he does. A really solid all-around fighter. Got that wrestling background, but he's got really solid striking to go along with it. Trains with a bunch of killers out there in Wisconsin and Milwaukee with Rufus Sport in Chicago. I think he's based out of, if I remember right. But I know my buddy Mike Biggie Rhodes talks high about this guy, and I'm a fan of him. I think he came into UFC. Very fun fight with Alan Jouban, which would be about a year ago now, and it's during Ramadan, I think it was. So this might be the same here. But his two losses, very close fight with Alan Jouban. Did get knocked out by Vicente Luque in that fight at UFC 205. Luque just caught him with a beautiful shot and put him to sleep, and it happens. And so Jordan Mein coming back. He retired, he came back, and I don't know why I picked him, because I thought that Mech could beat him, and Emil Mech won the fight. I just thought he looked very sloppy on his return now. He might have shored up all those deficiencies that he had in that fight, and he might look like the Jordan Mein who I thought was a prospect maybe 5 years ago. But there's a lot of deficiencies there. Once he gets tired, the hands go down. He's open to shots there. I think that if you put him against the cage, you could possibly take this guy down. He has got talents, no doubt about it. We've seen in the Alves fight, he was doing very well in that one before getting caught. But I like Belal Muhammad in this one. I think he's going to grind it out. And I think Mein is a tough guy to finish, but I'm going to go Muhammad via decision. Chad Laprise against Brian Camozzi is up next. Really like Chad Laprise in this situation here. I think that he's just overall the better fighter against Brian Camozzi. Better camp, better training partners, better boxer, better technique. He's got a really nice jab. He'll pop your head out there and just kind of mix up a little bit. He's coming off that win over Thibault Gouti, which is not saying much. Gouti is not a really top class caliber fighter within the UFC, but Ross Pearson could have easily won that fight, and the loss to Francisco Trinaldo where he got taken out in that one there. But he has got a win over like Brian Barberena, who's a really solid pro himself. I just think better fighter, better camp, just the better fighter. I don't think I can really say much more about this matchup. Brian Camozzi, second fight in the UFC, came in against he came in very short notice. I remember last time against let me see, I forgot, Randy Browne, and got taken out with some knees and that. That was in the Albany card. I remember that now. That was one of the early fights I watched for this one. But Chad Laprise for me, I just think he's too good on the feet. I think he's going to be too efficient with his jab, and just kind of keep it very technical on the feet. I think he's going to out technique Brian Camozzi every aspect of the fight and win a fairly convincing 30-27 decision. Next up, we've got Travis Browne against Oleksiy Oliynyk. I've watched the last 3 or 4 fights of Oleksiy Oliynyk there on UFC Fight Pass, and I'm going to talk about his last fight. Victor Pesta he came out aggressive, did Oliynyk. He was fairly aggressive on the feet and just pushing Pesta back, throwing big shots. Then got taken down. And he was grabbing onto a few things, trying to look for openings like Oliynyk always does. But then he gets full mounted by Victor Pesta, who moves from side control into full mount. Then he locks up an Ezekiel choke, and Victor Pesta, you can see in his body movement that he didn't like this, and that was in tight. And I've watched that fight as soon as it happened, and I watched it after, and I couldn't believe that guy got caught in an Ezekiel choke from the bottom. Craziness. And the guy, it's not the first time, I think that's the 10th time Oliynyk did it. But I couldn't believe it, and even watching it within the last 2 hours, I still can't believe that he caught Victor Pesta with that. What Olynyk's going to want to do here is, the game plan's fairly self-explanatory. He needs to get it to the ground. He can't stand on the feet with Travis Browne. He doesn't have the striking arsenal to really hurt Travis Browne, or at least he shouldn't in all aspects. Travis Browne, I thought he actually looked pretty decent in the Derek Lewis fight. He hurt him with some body kicks. But the one thing that I've noticed with Travis Browne is when he gets you hurt, he panics. And his choice of strikes is not good. He hurt Derek Lewis twice in that fight. And if you watch the difference between Derek Lewis to Travis Browne, when Derek Lewis hurt Travis Browne, he went after him 100%. Travis Browne was in there wheeling shots, missing him, being sloppy, grabbing a hold of Derek Lewis. It was just really bad to watch, in all honesty. And but it was as good a performance as Travis Browne has put on in a long time, in all honesty. So yeah, coming into this one, I mean, he's lost the last three. When you think about it, Derek Lewis is not your greatest heavyweight ever, but he's tough. Fabricio Werdum's a former champion, Cain Velasquez a former champion, and his last fight was a stinker. His last win was a stinker against Matt Mitrione, where he won via TKO with that injury that took place with Matt Mitrione, which was fairly nasty. I would like to pick Oleksiy Oliynyk. I think I said in my previous videos that I am never picking Travis Browne again, but this is a matchup made for him here. As long as he doesn't get put in the ground, he wins this fight 99.5 out of 100 times, in my opinion. He's far too good. Throws big body kicks, throws big leg kicks. He did that against Derek Lewis and he hurt him. He's just a little bit, he flails a little bit on the feet, and that's something that I don't like seeing. He's open when he throws kicks. He's open for shots here, but against a guy like Oliynyk, he shouldn't get caught, in all honesty. Like that, he narrowed up his stance in the last fight. I thought his previous fights against Velasquez and Werdum, he was too wide open with his stance, and in his last fight he definitely shored that up. But Travis Browne is in decline. I don't think he's in that much of a decline where he loses this fight, so I'm going to pick Travis Browne. I'm going to pick him via an early knockout. I think he catches Oliynyk, puts him against the cage and just unleashes shots on him, and the referee will jump in and stop the fight there. So that is the prelims and all that done. UFC Fight Pass prelims and the prelims there. We're moving on to the main card, which is fairly decent. We've got a couple of title fights up top, and a couple of guys I'm looking forward to seeing. So we're staying in the heavyweight division with Daniel Omielanczuk against Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is going to, excuse my French, is going to fuck this guy up. Omielanczuk's in for a bad night. Curtis Blaydes, his last performance against Aaron Milstead, I can't remember how many takedowns he got, but he threw, and I know Milstead's not your biggest heavyweight, but he threw that guy around like he was nothing, and he just beat the absolute piss out of him really badly with huge ground and pound. Would just lift him up, throw him around, flail him about. I think Milstead suffered a really bad injury in that one, I remember right as well. But Curtis Blaydes has legit wrestling, big power. Hurt Francis Ngannou with a big jab, I remember, in that fight. So he does have, his striking's coming on, but he's a very big athletic guy with a lot of really good aspects in his game to move forward, and this is a good matchup for him, moving off that Milstead to a guy who's more of a veteran in the UFC. He's fought around the UFC for a long time. He's won fights in the UFC, and he's fought some fairly decent guys like your Stephen Struves and your Timothy Johnsons and stuff like that, but he has lost his last two, so this is a big fight for him if he wants to kick around in the UFC. His last win was against Oliynyk, where he got takedowns in that one and he won a majority decision. Then there was Yanis Daniel and Chris De La Hoya, which are two really terrible heavyweights in all honesty. But I just see Curtis Blaydes. I'm really happy that, in fact, that he's got the opportunity to move up into the main card here, because I think it's a guy that can get behind a big heavyweight. He's got a lot to kind of prove going forward. I think there was that whole thing with Texas as well. They made it a no contest for him, like for marijuana or something, which is absolutely bullshit. But he won that fight. We all know who won that fight. I just see rinse and repeat takedowns, heavy aggression from Curtis Blaydes, and I can see Daniel Omielanczuk just getting thrown around that octagon really badly, and eventually he'll succumb to strikes. And I'm going to go first round. I'm going to go early second round. I think Omielanczuk can last a little bit, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if this finishes in the first 2-3 minutes of the fight, once Blaydes gets him down and just starts wailing the shit out of him. So Curtis Blaydes, round 2 TKO victory there. Lightweight division with Anthony Showtime Pettis against Jim Miller, and this is a matchup a little bit unsure about, in all honesty, because I know I'm a bit of a fanboy for Anthony Pettis, but I'm just a little bit unsure which Jim Miller's actually going to show up, because I mean, this guy lost to Diego Sanchez last year, and then he had an absolute war with Dustin Poirier early on this year, where he looked very good and could have possibly, if he had a little bit more will in that fight, he might actually could have went on and won that one. And Anthony Pettis, in all honesty, he's looked a shell of himself, the former UFC lightweight champion. I really don't think his expedition down to 145 really helped him. I don't think, I mean, he loses to really good guys. He lost to the UFC featherweight champion and Max Holloway. There's no shame in that. Came out really well, probably won the first round in that fight before the adjustments that Holloway always seems to make. Charles Oliveira could have easily won that, lost that fight as well, but he came through and submitted a legit BJJ black belt. I mean, losses to Dos Anjos, Barboza and Alvarez, not bad losses, but if he wants to, I think it's fair to say that Anthony Pettis, and this is hard for me to say as a huge fan of his, he is clearly in the decline. There is something missing. There's something just not there with him anymore. What he needs to do in this fight, he needs to keep it at distance. If this gets close, this is what Pettis needs to do. He needs to keep it at distance and use his far better striking. What Jim Miller has to do is he has to pressure, like Eddie Alvarez did. Even though I thought Pettis won that fight with Alvarez, he needs to pressure and look to take him down, but that's still not a gimme with Anthony Pettis, because he is a really good submission artist himself. So I think that can counteract one another, but I think that Jim Miller has to wrestle, not that he does that all that often, and once you can find the chin of Jim Miller, you can put him out, just kind of like Michael Chiesa did in their fight. One shot and he starts to wilt. So Pettis needs to look to do that. I just see Anthony Pettis being on the feet. If this stays on the feet, he's winning this all the time. And just mixing everything up, just staying technical and just not rushing things, and doing what he did in the Holloway fight. Used low kicks to the leg kicks, and then just mixing up with the nice 1-2s with the right lefts. And I think he could possibly finish Jim Miller, but I am going to go via decision. I would like to see a nice big head kick knockout for Pettis. It's tough for me to say that he is declining, but I think he is. I would like to see him make another run in the lightweight division, because there's so many good fights up there for him. I wouldn't mind seeing a fight with Justin Gaethje and Anthony Pettis in the future, and so on and so on. But I am going to go Anthony Pettis. I am going to go decision, and hopefully Showtime gets back to winning ways and looks back to the way he was many years ago, when he was just lighting fools up and head kicking guys and flying off the cages and all types of shit. Anthony Pettis via decision in that one there. Heavyweight division. Fabricio Werdum against Alistair Overeem. A little bit surprised when I heard this fight get put together, because I think it's 1-1 with their fights in the past. And the fights have never really overly been that great between them, in all honesty. But Yeah. How do I see this fight going? I'm a little bit. I think this is going to be like a big staring contest between these two. I really do. I think it's going to be a low action fight. I actually really like the way Alistair Overeem is fighting nowadays, and I thought it was a big win over Mark Hunt in his last fight, considering he came in there ill. I do like the way he's fighting nowadays. He's protecting that chin, fighting smart, using push kicks to keep your guys away, and then once you come in, just trying to counter with the big punches that he has. Fabricio Werdum, I don't know what's going on with his head. I mean, he lost his shit at UFC 203 in that fight with Travis Browne, where he came flying out with a fucking flying kick that nearly took the head clean off Travis Browne. But then he went to take out Edwin Terrion, which is not a bad thing personally, because I think many people like to do that. But since that fight with Stipe Miocic, he looks a little bit different, and he's achieved a lot of things in the UFC and outside of the UFC as well. He's one of the best heavyweights there's ever been, but he can't rush in like he did against Stipe Miocic, because I think that Alistair Overeem can definitely touch the chin and can definitely put Fabricio Werdum down. But I just see this being a little bit of a staring match, and I think if that happens, then it's going to favour Alistair Overeem's technical striking, and that's where I see this fight going pretty much. I like Alistair Overeem in this fight. I actually like personally Fabricio Werdum to win, because I'm not the biggest Alistair Overeem fan, but I think about it logically, I think that Overeem is fighting very smart. I just like the way he's fighting personally. I think he's fighting to protect himself and be technical, pick your strikes, and just try and get him out there if you can. If not, win a fairly comfortable decision. So I'm going to go, this could be a 30-27, but I'm going to go 29-28 for Alistair Overeem over the 3 rounds there. So moving on to the best fight of the card, probably the best fight we've had all year, and I can't wait for this one. Every time I think about it, it's just a phenomenal fight. Yoel Romero versus Robert Whittaker for the UFC Interim Middleweight Championship. Love Yoel Romero, love Robert Whittaker, but I've struggled a little bit with this fight here. I've been going back and forward on it. Initially I came out with Yoel Romero, and then I think as the fights come closer, I have went the other way. Robert Whittaker's coming off an all-time performance against Jacare Souza. I hit my prediction that I thought he's going to get him in the second round, and he got him in the second round. He stopped the takedown, and then just went after Jacare once he started fading a little bit. And Robert Whittaker has legit boxing, really good hand speed, really good footwork, really good feints, and he just puts his strikes together very, very fluently, and it's something really nice to watch. He's just coming into his own in that middleweight division. I must admit, he was a fighter coming through on tough where I thought he had an opportunity to do very, very well, but I didn't see it happening at 185. I really didn't. I thought he could do some business at 170, but the weight cut was obviously too much. He's actually, I seen the media lunch these guys had yesterday in LA, I think it was, or Las Vegas, one of them, and he's the bigger guy over Romero. And now I know Romero's not the tallest of guys, but Whittaker looked huge compared to Yoel Romero, I thought, and Romero's built like a brick shithouse pretty much. So, but Yoel Romero, this guy just wins fights, no matter what happens, whether he's been a little bit dirty, whether he's bending the rules for him to win this fight. The guy finds a way to win fights, and he wins fights late on as well. That fight with Chris Weidman, it was very, very close, but he came out with an absolute howitzer of a flying knee that put Chris Weidman down. Literally, as soon as it hit him, Weidman folded. There was blood pissing everywhere, and he really put a hurting on that guy in that fight. And he's beat some legit guys. I mean, Tim Kennedy's always been a tough guy to fight. Came through in that one late in the third round. Derek Brunson, he was losing that fight fairly clearly. Down 2 rounds, came in and knocked him out in the third round. Leo Machida unleashed some huge elbows on him there, and that was where I thought, right, this guy's really legit. Then it was obviously Jacare Souza, where he dropped him with a spinning back fist and won a very close split decision there. People were saying that was a fight for Jacare. I didn't see it, but the guy has really big power. It lasts throughout the fight. He conserves his energy pretty well in those late rounds, and then he goes for it. That, I don't think he can last 5 rounds personally, not with a guy like Robert Whittaker, who picks his shots very, very well, and just picks his shots very well and is very methodical in there. Doesn't take too many chances, breaks you down, and he's really, really, excuse me, really, really good at doing that. What I think Yoel needs to do is try and use that wrestling. Can he take Robert Whittaker down? That's the big question, because I think Whittaker has got really underrated takedown defense. I think that if he can stop the takedowns, I think that's going to discourage Yoel Romero a little bit. But Yoel Romero is someone you can never count out, because he can throw some funky shit like he did against Chris Weidman and knock you out. He has that much power and he has that much self-belief in himself through God and stuff like that, that he thinks if he will win these fights through that. And he's just got huge. It's a really hard fight to pick with between these guys, because both guys are both really good guys that I like a lot. But I think I'm going to go with Robert Whittaker. I think he's going to pick and prod with his shots, pretty much like the Jacare fight. Try and keep his back against the cage, because if he puts his back against the cage, Yoel's going to shoot in and look to try and get takedowns on him. I think he can stop majority of the takedowns. I maybe see him getting taken down on the odd occasion, but getting back to his feet. And I think once this starts to go into 3 and 4, if he can not get hit with those big shots that Romero can throw, I think he can take out Yoel Romero late. So I'm going to go in the mid-round, round number 4, around the 2 or 3 minute mark. I think he's going to knock out Yoel Romero and go on to face Michael Bisping in the future. Or depending, who knows what's going on with that division, like that fight with Bisping and GSP and so on and so on. And this guy's going to be, I think he's going to be the legitimate champion of the middleweight division. So I'm going to go a 4th round TKO victory there for Robert the Reaper Whittaker. Great fight. Can't wait for that one. It's best fight of the year in my opinion. And the main event of the night, we have a rematch between Amanda Nunes, who defends a UFC Bantamweight, Women's Bantamweight Championship, against Valentina Bullet Shevchenko. Another really good fight I'm looking forward to. And interesting fight, because since the first fight, it was fairly clear early on in that fight that Amanda Nunes was the better fighter. Big power, and she shows that in every fight, that she has huge power, really good technique with her hands, and just an all-around well mixed martial artist. Pretty much, she puts everything together very well. The one thing I don't like is her cardio and her conditioning, and we've seen that in that fight with Bullet in the first fight. She was probably up 2 rounds and Bullet was coming on strong. If that fight went into 3 and 4 and 5, I thoroughly believe that Valentina Shevchenko would go on and win that fight. And this is where I think this fight's going to go. I think Amanda Nunes is going to... by the way, Amanda Nunes, how many good spots has she fell into? I mean, UFC 200, all that shenanigans with Jones, who moves into the main event, and she main events against Rousey, and now she's got Garbrandt and Dillashaw falling out, and she's the main event of the second international fight week in a row. That's some crazy shit. But Valentina Shevchenko, since that fight, she pieced up Holly Holm really badly. And look, that was one of the fights where I thought, and she was a huge underdog, she was like plus 340 in that one, and I cashed that bet. Really nice. And then there was the fight with Juliana Pena. Now, there wouldn't be many people out there who are picking Bullet Shevchenko to win that fight via submission. I thought if she's down there long enough, she's in deep shit against Juliana Pena, because she's very strong on the ground. Turned out that Valentina's been working on a lot of stuff to round out a game with a beautiful technique that she has on the feet. And came out there with a beautiful win in the second round via submission and moved herself into this one. And my pick for this fight is going to be Valentina Shevchenko. I think she's going to make the necessary adjustments, not get caught in round 1, and try and avoid the big power and the big shots of Nunes. If she can do that, I see her winning this fight. I see her stopping this fight as well. I think she can, as long as she's careful, because I can see majority of this fight being kept on the feet. She can maybe mix in takedowns, but I think if she used that techniques and just picks her shots, she can stop Amanda Nunes with strikes, in my opinion. And just be careful not to get caught in big situations where Nunes does have big power. When she plants those feet, she's very dangerous. So that's something she has to look out for. but I'm going to pick Valentina Shevchenko to win this one. I'm going to pick her to win via decision, maybe a late finish, but I like her via maybe a 49-46 decision in this one. Could be a 48-47 one, it could be close, but I like 49-46 for Valentina Shevchenko to win the rematch here, and maybe see these girls go at it again. So and I have put my first bet on for this card, and it will be, I've got 2 units on Valentina Shevchenko at plus 100 there, so hoping I can cash that and get back on my winning ways with my bets. But that's my pick, Shevchenko via a unanimous decision victory there. So that is my picks for UFC 213. I really appreciate all the support as per usual, guys. Go and check out my UFC Tough Finale predictions and see what you think there. Always leave your fight predictions down below, or who you think's going to win, or maybe question some of my picks and see why I was thinking regarding that, who I went with. I think it's I'm waiting on some of the lines. I'm hoping I can get some underdog plays, but I think a lot of the guys that I've mentioned are maybe going to be slight favourites. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But you can follow my bets at Bet MMA Tips, Carpertech. At the minute, I'll probably stay away. If don't ever say like this is your own money, so go and do whatever you want with your own money. But just take our opinions and see what you think. On occasions, I do pull some good stuff off on very, very rare occasions. So on DraftKings, I might actually put together a game with maybe 20 odd people in this one, maybe $2, and winner takes all $40. It might be something nice to do. So yeah, but you can follow me on Twitter, Will Martin MMA. Thank you very much. The next card I will be doing is UFC Fight Night 113 from my very own country in Scotland here, as Gunnar Nelson faces off against Santiago Ponzinibbio in the main event, with Joanne Calderwood against Cynthia Calvillo in the co-main event, which I'm going to go with the card. So if you're a viewer that's going to be there, if you're from my side of the water, let me know and I'll see if I can meet up with you down there. I know there's a lot of guys going who watch this, and I'm going to meet up with them down there. So looking forward to that one. Looking forward to being cage side to watch those fights there. But well, until then, enjoy International Fight Week with the 2 cards to the Friday and the Saturday night. I will be back probably maybe Sunday, the week before the fights, if not Monday. So keep an eye out for the video then. Until then, thank you very much. I appreciate all the support and enjoy the cards when it comes around.